Hi there, this is Cameron Gibson doing my hand washing presentation for Healthcare Fundamentals. So how you want to start off the hand washing is making sure both sleeves are rolled up, and this is to ensure that you can wash your hands properly. You also want to make sure you don't have any jewelry on your hands, because microorganisms get trapped under there and will make hand washing ineffective. You also want to make sure that your hands or elbows are not touching the sink, because the sink has microorganisms as well. You also want to make sure that your back is straight and that your general body position is good, because if you're hunched over like this, it can cause repetitive strain injury, which can cause health complications. You also want to make sure your hands and forearm are below your elbow when you're washing your hands. And this is so that the decontamination goes from here downwards and spreads from the least contaminated area to the most, rather than the most to the least, which would spread microorganisms. So remember, hand and forearm below the elbow. Now we want to turn the tap on, and we don't want it too high because that will spread microorganisms all over the countertop, and we want it a warm temperature. So a warm temperature and a good amount of flow, but not too much. Right around there should be good. Next, we want to wet the wrists and the hands. And this is so that when we apply the soap, it'll have something to lather with. And we want to go from the wrist down to the hands, from the least contaminated area to the most. Now we want to put on the soap. You want a good amount, so that the soap has a chance to cover all the surfaces of the hands. So what I have there should be enough, just one pump. And yeah, now we start lathering. We want to start where the wrist is and go downwards. And we want to use circular motions. And then do it the same for the other side. You also want to rub the back of the hand. You want to interlace the fingers and thumbs like this to get in between. I like to do this with the thumbs, and then also do this to get under the nails. And make sure to not touch the sink once again, because microorganisms are all around there. Now, in order to rinse the hands, we want to start with our fingertips down, and we want to rinse from the wrist, like so. Make sure not to touch the sink. And we're going from the least contaminated area to the most contaminated area. We want to hand wash for, I like to hand wash for 60 seconds, just to make sure I've got enough microorganisms off of my hands. Now, I want to dry my hands, but I'm not going to touch the tap first. I'm going to clean paper towel, and I want to go from the wrist to the fingertips. also want to discard this in an appropriate container. In a hospital setting, this would be a garbage can right next to the sink, but for now, I'm going to use this throwaway pot. Now, I'm going to grab a clean paper towel, and with this clean paper towel, I'm going to turn off the tap. And I'm also going to wipe around the sink surface to make sure I've got a clean surface for the next person that uses it. Now, I do the same with this. I throw it in that bin. And that would be an appropriate container in a hospital setting, but this is in my house, so it's a bit tricky to find one. And yeah, that is the finishing of my presentation.